In this video, we will discuss about game space structure. See, there is a relationship between games which we are going to develop and the puzzles. Games and puzzles have always been inspired by space description. Okay, the space which is described in classic literature or the buildings are built in the real world. It can be space, it can be street, it can be a area, it can be a city, it can be a town, whatever it might be. We can easily compare a game and a person with the real world entity. So, for example, if we take a book, literature book, we can easily say that whatever the environment we are creating, whatever the level we are creating, it can be compared with the information portrayed in the literature or the real world information. For example, if we take Tokyo, there are many games which represent this Tokyo city, New York, London, Beijing, so everything. So it can be represented. The real world entity can be represented. Beyond defining a specific spatial condition of a game environment, these classic spaces, that is the olden age, whatever the information specified in the literature or poetry, also act as an important model for game, how this game can be structured. Still, it plays a very important role. Okay, so when it comes to game worlds, it can be structured through linear. There is a straight line which we have discussed previously, branching out. So one line will be there. We can branch the way, branch the path. Another thing is interconnected way. Okay, so one route will be interconnected with other, so through which we can complete the level. There is a connection between a way, a path, the puzzle which we are creating, the game play which we have created, the level which we have created. So there are three types which we will be discussing. First one is labyrinth. Okay, so this word came from Greek, the olden days, where they have created this kind of puzzle, this kind of structure. For example, it is said that according to the novels, all these things, the labyrinth was built to hold a particular creature, for example, half man or half bull, that is Minotaur, for King Minos of Crete. So this is what the novel specifies. So this is why they have created this particular structure which is based on a puzzle. Okay, so this representation of labyrinth in the art, we can date it in back Roman times. So which will be acting as a winding passage that loop around themselves, eventually ending up at the end point. So it would be kind of a looping thing. So looping through its own spaces. The passages will be looping through the own spaces, but this will go to a particular end point. Okay, it's very difficult to find the end point because the passages are looping through, but we can eventually get to the end point. While this particular type of space structure tend to create a confusion. So while playing, so because we can't be able to find the path easily. Okay, so this labyrinth is always kind of confused with branching mazes. So to stop a confusion, to give an endpoint to this confusion, so artists and writers such as Hermann Herne are made a distinguish that classic labyrinth are unique consists of a single winding path. Okay, it's a kind of a single winding path, a unique cursor. So also this is notable for the use of floor pattern in many medieval churches. For example, Cathedral, so which we have seen in Assassin's Creed. Okay, so the walking path of a mediative experience. Okay, so it's a meditative experience. So we can able to see this kind of structure in many games actually. Yeah, so still many games are following this. Using these structures, the games will be modeled, so the levels will be modeled. Yeah, so this creates this always creates kind of a confusion with the player. So you don't want to think that the way and paths will be closed like this. So these particular impression, this particular structure will be replicated with the objects or with the assets which we will be using in our environment. It can be of trees or it can be of a dark shadow. We will be seeing those things. So buildings, paths, the enemies can be placed in a certain way that you as a player you need to follow a particular route. So all these things can be done. Okay, so this is a very important model for understanding game spaces when it comes to navigation in a linear fashion. Okay, so this plays a very this kind of space structure is a very important model. So for with respect to linear methodology. Okay, so as Lalin and Zimmerman points out, games are often the least productive way to accomplish task. Okay, so this way what happens is that this particular space structure also demonstrates that even in linear game space, both literal and gameplay twists, turns and challenges can add interest to an otherwise straightforward pattern. See, I'm following a particular single pattern, but with respect to this gameplay twist and turn challenges which is added to this particular level. Okay, so this creates a even more interesting gameplay, interesting level design can be implemented to what we call it as a straightforward path. See, I'm going to go and accomplish a particular task. I'm going to complete a particular objective which is straightforward. But when I add a twist in the gameplay, when I add a path where you need to follow turns and nooks and corners to accomplish my goal, when I add certain challenges, it makes this particular straightforward pathway even more interesting. So how we can able to accomplish is that by using these kind of space structures, puzzle structures with respect to space like labyrinth or maze. Yeah. So this labyrinth and maze, so all these things can be used to structure a particular mapping structure. Okay. So as it is specified, this labyrinth is a very important role. It plays a very important role in when it comes to creating this game structure. Okay, so for example, beyond the singular levels, actually many games are themselves labyrinthian. So for example, requiring the players to follow one set of path of events. Okay, so they wanted the players to follow a particular path. So for example, Tom Raider, you would be seeing that that particular play in certain levels, it will be that particular player would be following a particular route, and in between there will be challenges. The timing is very important in that. So when we tend to miss the timing, so the player tend to get killed or get caught. So all these type of other scenes will be enabled, and you can see the result. Okay, so that is what. So this kind of structures is very useful in games where the narrative, a particular narrative is embedded, or themes For example, as I said, Tomb Raider, the argument is being communicated to the players. So a lot of non-playable characters will be there, and you need to complete a certain conversation. From the conversation, you will be taking a certain tips, and you will be coming to know what kind of way I need to follow to accomplish my goal. So all these things can be said. Okay. So this is a particular mapping structure. So you can see here, this is a plan of labyrinth of Versailles, which is showing many branching paths. Okay, you can start here and you can go here. You can start here and you can go here. Okay, so you can start from here and you can go here, or else you can go from here to here. So these are different types of paths. So you get this short way, but if I'm going to go from here, it's a long way. So anyway, so I need to cross a certain path to accomplish certain goal. But sometimes if I want to come here, I don't want to come here. I don't want to go here. I can just go here. But if I need to go to here, either if I take this path or this path, I need to come here. Okay. Even if I come here, I should come here. Even if I come to this path, I need to come here. So this is a kind of a puzzle space, puzzle structure, which is created to confuse the players, to give a challenging task to the players who are playing the game. So this creates a very good impression with the players who are playing. Okay. So next topic is maze. So many of us would have been very familiar with this type of puzzles, space puzzles. Either we can see this in the newspapers or magazines, and many games are being released with respect to maze, mobile games, where there will be a small ball will be there. Using that we need to create a maze. Using that we need to accomplish our goal, and this maze, these boundaries will be created. A brick or structures will be there. So we need to find the path. So either we will be having isometric view, or we will be having a top view, or we will be having a second person view or third person view. So depending on the game, it changes. Okay. So depending on this particular scenario, depending on this particular the game, how it has been built, the game will be challenging. So if it's isometric, it's kind of little bit easier to complete the maze. If it's of a third person view, you can know that we won't have much view with respect to the space, and it will be challenging. So you need to find the path. Okay, room by room we need to visit. But when it comes to, when we are seeing the map from isometric view, what happens? So you can able to cover lot of spaces. So that plays a very important role. So even having a particular game camera view gives you a challenging level, tricky steps to work out with. Okay, so mazes are branching spatial puzzle where occupants and players must find their way through an elaborate set of pathways. So it can be of multiple pathways. Okay, so with multiple dead ends. Okay, so to find an existing path. So when it comes to maze, you will have many levels, many paths which goes to a dead end. But there are certain paths, either depending on the level, it can be one path which leads to the exit, or there might be 2 or 3 paths which goes to the exit. But lot of paths will be a dead end. Okay, so lot of paths will be a dead end. So due to their branching natures, mazes are said to be multi-cursor. So when it comes to labyrinth, it's uni-cursor. When it comes to maze, because of its branching nature, it's multi-cursor. So having more than one defined path, unlike uni-cursor labyrinth. Okay. So this is two different way of creating a space puzzle. Yeah. So the difference between the maze and is important to level design. So this plays a very important role. What type of way space structures you're going to follow? This plays a very important role when it comes to level design. Okay, so what type of space puzzle you're going to pick when you are going to create the game? So that plays a very important role. So just like that we cannot pick a maze, or just like that we cannot pick labyrinth. So we need to understand what type of level design we are going to make. Okay. So because both are unique and useful, spatial types that create different types of gameplay. These two things actually creates two different types of gameplay. One can be multi-branch based game design, another can be unilinear based gameplay. Okay, the pathway can be in linear type straight away, but when it comes to when we are using maze type of space structures, the gameplay might be branching out. So all these things are there. So despite the name, the legend of the Minotaur and the Cretan labyrinth actually describe the maze. Thus the current popular interchangeability between the terms maze and the labyrinth. So still there are certain things theoretically, still it's not true. Okay. So when what happens is that when finishing the structure, Taylor is said to have nearly gotten lost among its many branching paths. Okay, so thus the hero Theseus replaced a ball of thread to remind himself of the way out during his mission to kill the Minotaur. Okay, so this is a kind of a novel-based story. So this explains us how difficult it will be. Even the person who builds this creates confusion in his mind. So even though he is a creator, it is difficult for him to identify the path. So even for us, it will be like that one. So this is a very good example. So you can see here. So this is when I will start here. You can see here there is a path. This is a dead end. So I need to take here. Even in here two paths are there, but if I take that, here is a dead end. So I need to go here again, dead end, dead end. So I need to go here. So if I go here again, dead end. Okay. So I need to go here. I need to take this path or this path. So you can see here, if I take this path, see the time it takes for me to find this is not the correct path. So till here, I won't know this is the correct path. So again, I need to go back all my way to this point, and then I need to follow this particular path. Even in there at that point of end, there is a twist. Okay, this is a trick. This is one of the trick thing. This particular branch out is a trick thing. Okay. So this is how we will be doing. This is how we will be structuring our gameplay. Okay. From the Renaissance to the 19th century, artists also developed techniques. So multi-versal pathway to tall bushes in the garden of a large estate. So many games we would have seen this kind of maze. The structure has been created in the estate gardens, and we can able to even see these kind of things, these kind of structures in movies. Still this is available. Still these kind of bushes has been created. It is available. Yeah. So originally universal labyrinth, this structure evolved into branching path that often contains several points of interest. So you can see this is a very good example. Okay. So this actually you can see that how we can able to see so this is one of the example. Okay. So when it comes to Labyrinth of Versailles, within which explorers could find 39 sculptures depicting as of fables. Okay, this structure has this kind of information. So, for example, Slender, I hope you guys would have heard about this game. This particular uses a similar layout where players must navigate a maze, okay, of pitch black forest pathway to find the notebook pages before they are captured by a malicious entity. Okay, the 8 pages use a similar layout, okay, where players must navigate a maze of pitch black forest pathway. So it will be very black. So there you won't be seeing any bricks or something used. It's a kind of a black entity. So it's an entity you guys would have seen. You cannot meet that. Okay. So rather than getting captured, you need to find these pages. So this is one of the noteworthy game. The maze experience is created not by walls, through certain small areas or like maze like, but with the ambiguous scenery and pitch black darkness. So this is how you need to create. This is how the creativity comes to play. So they haven't used any walls or anything. Okay, certain scenery based objects and darkness. So pure creativity. Okay. So mazes and even recreation of European style hedge mazes and American derivative, so con mazes are very common type in games. In movies, you would have seen con symbols we have seen. So con field, many thrillers movies has been taken in con field because it actually hides the visual. Okay. So that branching nature with potential dense implies a rich risk reward structure where the game asks you to weigh different uncertain options with the hope of choosing an advantageous answer. So when it comes to game mechanics, maze levels of games are often paired with features such as powerful enemies or time limit to create a dramatic gameplay situation. So there will be a time limit will be given. You need to find the path. There will be a powerful enemy will be kept and you need to find the path. So if you tend to take a wrong path, there is a casualty. So if you take the right path, there will be a reward. So this kind of game mechanics can be created with respect to the maze, the level which we have created. Okay. So this is one example. So this is a map of Slender, that is a forest map. So it has a similar layout or node based structure for place where player may find the titular pages. Okay. So you can see here. So this is a map actually. So truck and trails, trees. This is the starting point. Silo and fences will be this one. So fences, okay, silos, trees, tracks, here also one. So chopped trees, brick crosses, tanks, bathrooms, rocks, and there is a tunnel here. Okay, these things are friends. Okay, so where you should be very careful. This is the boundary. So actually, this is the boundary. Okay, so this is a type of maze. Okay, so this is a type of maze. Okay, so then next example, this is a level which this is a two example in game. So maze level for Legend of Zelda. Okay, and Mario. Super Mario 3. Okay, so how designers, this shows how designers use maze to complement dramatic elements such as powerful enemies in Zelda and when it comes to Mario time limit. So here you can see here and here you can see here. So this is a time limit and here you can see you need to follow a particular path. Okay, so you should not meet this particular character. Okay, this is the enemy. But when it comes to Mario, So you can see the time limit. Before this time limit runs out, you need to get out of this particular structure. So this is a different way of telling the game, specifying the game. Okay. So platforms such as, so when it comes to dead end, when it comes to maze, the dead end mazes is not negative. It's always not negative, but we can able to make the player to explore the dungeons. For example, in Final Fantasy or Zelda, so whether we can able to use different branches. So that dead end can be incentive for exploration. For example, this kind of exploration tend to give treasures, rewards, all these things. So even simpler world can also have like small branches such as in a mobile ball rolling platform game, Swap. So these kind of levels, small diversion paths of a level typical route can lead to catching of points and other rewards. So we can able to create this kind of uh, atmosphere, environment, which will help the games even in more different ways. Okay, for example, in Super Mario, so where the particular character, the Mario character can go and finish the level straight way in a linear path. But if he can go inside a tunnel, he can able to collect the coin. Okay, so that gives us a more reward. So that kind of way, that kind of a thing we can able to do. Yeah.